Howdy everyone, it's me, your boy Derek or Matthew, or whatever else you want to call me. And back in May, I had this really ambitious idea that I genuinely thought could come to fruition. Also, I wanted to quickly mention that this is part one of a two-part thing I'm doing called the Cruella Party, which I'm assuming you already understood from the title, but extra clarification never hurt anybody. Part 2 will be coming out on Friday, August 27th, because that is when Cruella becomes available to stream on Disney Plus at no extra cost. So I highly advise anyone who hasn't seen it to finally go watch it. So back in May, if you didn't know, a small little movie came out called Cruella, semi-based on the 1961 film 101 Dalmatians. This live-action adaptation is technically an original origin story for the infamous villain known as Cruella de Vil, brilliantly played by Emma Stone in this modern take. I love the movie so much that I watched it 12 times in a row. It is genuinely my favorite movie of the year so far. But anyway, I love the movie so much that I was planning on doing a little project known as the Cruella Month. It was this crazy ambitious project I had thought of for every single day of the month of August. I had a different Cruella themed video. I certainly had a lot of ideas, and I genuinely had enough to fill the entire month. And I wish I could remember every single one, but I deleted those notes on accident. People who know me very well know how bad I am at technology and how many times I've accidentally deleted important things. Like, it goes so bad that I even go into my recently deleted and accidentally delete the thing that I need from there as well, which is like, why am I like this? But I do remember I had some pretty creative ideas, such as a Cruella themed nail tutorial, which I do not know how to do nails at all. I remember the Cruella campsite was tossed around my mind, and even a video of me trying to learn how to sew some of Cruella's costume. But those unfortunately never saw the light of day. So having to take a reality check and figuring out what I could realistically and reasonably accomplish on my own for the most part, I lowered my ideas down to a Cruella week. If you look at a couple of my previous videos, I think you could see some of the ideas I had for Cruella week somewhere in the background. I remember I wanted to do a couple analysis videos on Cruella, such as analyzing why I think that she should be considered a Disney princess. I was gonna try to recreate her fountain monologue because it is genuinely one of the greatest pieces of cinema I have ever seen. I started working on a Cruella song, but me being musically challenged, I gave up on that. I was also planning on doing this really great idea in my mind called the Cruella Calendar. The Cruella Calendar was basically going to be a heavily edited calendar photo shoot with me and several of my friends, and it was all going to be black and white themed with a hint of red. Each month would be a different photo with different people wearing Cruella inspired apparel that fit the theme of the month. For example, there were your obvious choices, with January being New Year's or February being Valentine's Day. But by far, my favorite idea that I had was a March Madness theme for March, obviously. And like, it would be Cruella-fied basketball uniforms and stuff. Wait, also January would have been a recreation of Cruella's motorcycle look, because on her face is written the future, and New Year's is literally like a celebration of the new future year, you know? Actually, here are a few ideas that I have been toying around with for each month. I don't really have anything solid yet. It's kind of just little sketches that will hopefully inspire me and give me inspiration on what to do. But they're not finalized either, but we're just gonna use this as a basis and get moving forward. I'd actually gone so far with this idea to actually get some of the clothes I needed and planned on wearing. I only got items from thrift stores to save in the financial costs, and because I felt like there was more variety there. Hello everyone, it's been around an hour later. I just came back from two different thrift stores to get some clothes for the Cruella calendar, and I got a wild assortment of things, from ties to jackets to pants, mainly stuff that doesn't fit me, but thank God, like, I could use anything in here. I intend on sewing some parts of it, even though I have no clue how to sew. So hopefully I could do something with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just got a whole bunch of random stuff to use for different clothing inspirations. Like, I didn't really have any idea on what I was looking for, and I don't really know what we're doing necessarily for the calendar yet, but hopefully the clothes will inspire me to do something. right? I genuinely wish that this project had actually met reality because I think this is one of the best ideas I've ever had, but hopefully maybe later on in the future. If Disney were to hire me to promote that recently announced Cruella sequel, I would definitely take the call. I have a ton of concepts. So the final two ideas I had for Cruella Week were the Cruella Balloon Display and the Cruella Candy/Sweet Station. These are two separate videos that would combine in the end to form the Cruella Watch Party. These are actually the only ideas from Cruella Week that actually came to fruition, so I'm proud of what I did, but the end result was not what I initially planned at all. The balloon display was inspired by my Instagram Explore page. May was the month in which I returned back to social media, Instagram specifically, after a brief hiatus, and I made brand new accounts because new account, new me. My Explore page had not been tampered with by the social media trackers, meaning it wasn't full of Marvel and musical theater content yet, so it was all a random hodgepodge of stuff that Instagram hoped would stick with me, and one thing did: balloon displays. I kept watching countless minutes of content from other creators on how they made their balloon displays, taking inspiration from their methods and techniques, hoping to apply it to my very own balloon display. Initially, I was thinking about doing 5 whole rainbow-shaped balloon arches that would decrease in size the further back they were. They would be alternating black and white arches with red as the bottom bases for each one. I thought it was a fantastic design, but not realistic because of the very limited space that I have and because of how hard it was to find packets of only white and black balloons. Red was not a problem though. So I had to adjust the idea to fit the situation that I was in. So I decided to do a single rainbow shaped balloon arch that had sort of like black and white swirl patterns with the balloons, and I kept the red bottom base idea. I wish I could accurately describe or provide pictures with the ideas that I was going for, but you're just going to have to trust me. The white balloons and the red balloons were extremely easy to find. I highly recommend the Dollar Tree balloons because they lasted a really long time, which really helped. The black balloons, on the other hand, were a bit troubling because they were difficult to find and pretty expensive in the end compared to Dollar Tree. I ended up going to Michael's and finding some there. And then the last thing you need is some string, which I luckily already had some, and in black too, which was very fitting for the theme. By the way, I will be linking in the description some videos that I used as inspiration during this process, so shout out to those channels and thank you all for the help. So I got all the materials, which meant it was time to start actually making the balloon arch. I started inflating the balloons and tying them each individually, and keep in mind that I am terrible at tying balloons, so this was a real struggle for me. I was sweating by like the 5th balloon. So I'm tying them, listening to Call Me Cruella by Florence and the Machine, and living my best life. Nothing could stop my progress. And then I realized I was doing it all wrong. Halfway through my balloon blowing and tying session, I realized that I needed to be tying the balloons in pairs rather than each one by itself so that I could form them into a chain later on. I had already used up many of the balloons that I had, and I didn't have much surplus because they were so difficult to find. So I was in a panic mood. I considered scrapping the balloon arch as a whole because I did not have enough balloons to make a full arch anymore. I couldn't just untie the single balloons. It's like squeezing out a tube of toothpaste and trying to put it back in. It just doesn't work. I felt hopeless for a while, struggling to find a solution. My fingers were in so much pain trying to tie these balloons together. Luckily, I wasn't blowing out the balloons through my lungs though. I had a machine, so that really helped. Also, if you're gonna try to do the same thing, please remember not to fill your balloons up with helium. You don't want your hard work flying away. So I took a second to breathe and reevaluate the situation to find some sort of solution to this irreversible problem. By the way, I know that it gets annoying when you're stressed out and people tell you just to breathe, but it actually works most of the time. It allows your brain to get the oxygen you really need to think things out, allowing you to accomplish more than you would fully freaking out. But enough of that mental health advice. I eventually found a solution when browsing through more Instagram posts that were recommended to me from other balloon display artists. I would employ the new method of tying the balloons together in doubles and then mixing those doubles with other doubles in order to form a set of 4 that would function as one layer. Hopefully what I said just made sense because it made total sense in my mind. So I kept forming these layers of 4 balloons each until I ran out, then I figured out what I could do with them. I think I ended up with about 26 layers of balloons that each had white and black balloons alternated. If you stack the balloons on top of each other and shift their colors with each new layer, you eventually get the swirly pattern that I was initially going for. Also, to connect the layers to one another, I just got the black string that I mentioned earlier and just tried to tie them tightly yet loosely so they managed to form a pillar, and thanks to my mother for a lot of help with that. So since I had 26 sets, I knew I did not have enough to make a full arch, so I made the next best thing. Balloon stands, I think they're called, but I'm not too sure. They were basically balloon pillars that were made the same way as the arch, but not as long, and I was able to make 2. So each balloon pillar had 13 sets, 4 balloons each set, and they were all stacked on top of each other with the color shifting one position each layer to create that swirl effect. So to top it all off, I added a larger in size red balloon at the very top to provide that hint of red that is always associated with Cruella's predominantly black and white color scheme. And to hold down each pillar, it's important to add a weight at the very bottom that is preferably not seen. So I got another red balloon and filled it up with a bit of water and tied that to the bottom of the pillar, allowing it to weigh the whole thing down and stand up straight. And with the spare balloons that I individually tied earlier, I ended up just throwing them on the floor and using them as more side decorations that added to the whole thing, I think. And with that, I think I successfully made 2 balloon pillars that looked decent, especially for my first try at this type of thing. For the whole of the Cruella party, this is probably the best thing I produced in my opinion, because the Cruella candy station was pretty much a mess. But if you want to see what happened with that, tune in for the Cruella party part 2, where I'll be going over the process of all of that. Thank you all so much for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed me describing my struggles in creating a balloon arch that wasn't actually a balloon arch and instead became 2 balloon pillars. Remember that Cruella will soon be available to stream on Disney Plus at no additional cost, so keep your eyes peeled for August 27th, which is also when part 2 comes out, and I hope you all check that out as well. So yeah, I guess I'll see you all next time, whenever next time is.